Bene IGV peeps, so you just saw the video of Luca explaining you concretely what do we have to do once the EP is approved. So basically all of our actions in order to deliver the 16 standards that Isaac has put in place to ensure that every exchange that we do is actually providing leadership development. Now what I have for you is an exercise. So you're going to find a timeline which is divided in 2 blocks. The first one is the outgoing side, so all the OGV people out there with which we work. And then the light gray one is the incoming side, so basically our own area, IGV. And then you're going to find different, let's say, blocks. Like each block stands for 1 week. As you know, all projects should have a duration of 6 weeks. Your task in this case is to take all the standards or activity that you should do in order to deliver standards that are down in the deliverable side and put them in the timeline as you think they make sense. And then you are going to have 10 to 15 minutes to do it. If you find yourself stuck, you can find references about the explanation of the standard if you go on this link that I'm going to put here down. Bravi! Now I hope that you have the ability to fill in all the gaps. The one that I'm going to show you is the timeline with all the exchange standards or deliverables in order to deliver them in the right place.
So here are the answers. In this timeline, as I said, you find both IGV and OGV. And let's say that at least 40 days before the realization, you should have all your approvals done. Of course, you can apply this timeline activity also to approvals that happen much further. So for example, when you approve for 6 months before the realization starts, you just need to change the time frame. When an EP is approved, the first thing that you do in this case is at like maximum 4 weeks before realization, you provide them with all the documents for getting the visa. Why? Because most of our partners do require from 2 to 4 weeks in order to actually provide visa to our EPs. In the same time, before the realization starts, around 3 weeks before, OGV does the following activity. First, they ask EP to sign up to every kind of community group that they may have. Some entities do use Facebook groups, some other may use other different platforms. Let's say it's an engagement site that they use. Then at the same time, they are going to have an insurance check. So basically push people in order to actually buy the health insurance, then check up on the visa situation to see if everything is in order, then also have the personal goal setting meeting. So basically they either deliver the OPS, which is a preparation seminar, or they do multiple appointments in which they work with the EP to set their expectation. And here IGV should work closely in order to explain as much as possible details about the project and the country. And then ask the EP for the first time to start filling the survey about standards. If OGV starts now, basically all of our job is much easier because they already have awareness about this survey and why they should fill it. Then 2 weeks before the realization starts, IGV has the chat, at least 2 weeks before, has the chat to review JD, host, details about where I'm going to live, logistic, and then each kind of doubt that the EP may have. Of course, this kind of chat you can do it way before, but maximum 2 weeks before realization, you should have it done. And then at the same time, OGV is going to confirm basic country knowledge, so basically all the information that one should know about, well, for example, coming to Italy. Then ensure that the EP has received the expectation setting, so they, let's say, check on our job as much as we do on there. And then they also have the last chance to ensure that the EP is traveling with a health insurance. This is the standard that we also should focus on checking. Then in the same period, IGV is going to provide all the information about pickup and accommodation in a written format. Why? Because after the chat of expectation is done, as Novello was saying, verba volant, so you should provide them with something written in which there are all the details. Of course, if you have also the contact of the people that are going to host or pick up the EP, it's much better so that they can already keep in touch. Then, 1 week before realization, OGV does a check on housing, pickup details, and emergency contact so that we are all ready to start this realization and to have the EP coming. And they also do a double check to understand the JD. And there is the super interesting starting realization, which is when basically you have a lot of activity, and if everything goes smooth, then the realization is going to be amazing. In that first week, what does OGV do? They assist the EP during the travel, pick up in the first moment with the hosting family, but much more than what they do, it's important that IGV is actually ensuring that there is a development space with the opportunity provider to align both the JD and also the personal goal that the EP have in order to connect the LDA with the experience that they're going to have inside the project. And at the same time, they're also going to give them all the information about basic living costs. Then in the first week, IGV is also entitled to have the IPS. Now, IPS should be delivered before the realization starts, but if for any reason your EP are not traveling much in advance, you can host it in the first week of realization, not later, because otherwise you cannot prepare them to anything as they're already starting their experience. Then during the first week, what IGV does is also a check on the JD. So basically the JD should be compliant on what we wrote on the opportunity, because it's what the stakeholders stated in the sales meeting. In this first week, you are entitled to check if actually what is written on the opportunity is happening in the project, and you will ask both the enabler and the EP. Then the realization is going to last for 6 weeks. In these 6 weeks, you are going to have touch points with both sending entity and the EP to monitor the experience, see if everything is going well, and at the same time you are responsible for checking the enabler and global family experience, so to call them and see if everything is going smoothly. 2 weeks before the realization ends, it's super important that you give information to EP on how to leave the country. Now, why does this standard exist? It's because in some entities, for people to get out of the country, they need to have legal documents. Now, as we are super lucky and privileged, we don't need it, but we need to give them at least some basic information on how to get to the airport or the place in which they bought the ticket to come back to their country. And then, when the realization is over, usually there is a closing event in the enabler side, so either it's a school or it's an NGO, they're going to host a final event in which they also explain to their community what they did and do a final evaluation about what has been done by ISEC, by DP, and so on. And it's also a good chance for you to take some showcasing material about the project. It's a, let's say, optional activity that I highly recommend you to host. If not, then you're going to see with your BP. When the realization is finished, so once the EP is back home, what does IGV do is ensure that actually the sending entity, so OGV guys, are booking an appointment with the EP to have a debrief moment. And at the same time, OGV has to provide this space in order to connect all the dots and help EP debrief about the whole experience. Why is this touch point so important? Because it's the final standard. So this should be the time in which the EP sat down again and fill in all the standards that are missing. This is basically what you should do for ensuring that each exchange is actually delivering leadership, and if you have any doubt, you can approach me. Ciao!